Hello. One. Few housekeeping things before we start. First, this event is being recorded in Zoom and live streamed in Facebook. 2, there is a translation in the Zoom, and it's in English and Georgian. The Georgian one is written as German. So if you want to hear it in Georgian, you have to press German. In general, keep your microphone on mute. If you have any question, please write them in the chat. We'll try to answer. And if not, we follow up with you after the webinar. We will also be doing a poll during this webinar. So please keep your phone ready. We will share with you the website where to go. It's Menti, and the code that you will need to input. And last, if you are connected by Zoom, please write your name and your title in the chat so that we can follow up with you for any question and answer. So with this said, let's start with our distinguished opening panel. Let me welcome Ambassador Christides, Secretary General of the Permanent International Secretariat of the Organization of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation. Dear Ambassador, you have about 4 minutes. Over to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Agostini. It's really a great pleasure and honor to be with you again and with all the dear friends that are participating in today's meeting. I am informed that we have also the Regional Director for the South Caucasus of the World Bank, also the Director for Sustainable Development of the World Bank. We also have with us, if I'm not mistaken, Minister Tandilashvili from the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture of Georgia. So, dear all, hello and welcome. I'm really extremely pleased to be with you today and launch this very important and interesting webinar that concerns Georgia, which will present the results of 2 recent reports prepared by the World Bank in collaboration with the government of Georgia. And at the same time, it will present the concept of the regional Bluing the Black Sea program, which has been created in support of the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea. Regional cooperation in the Black Sea has experienced a positive dynamic in the last years, notably around the notion of blue economy, culminating in the endorsement of a common maritime agenda for the Black Sea in 2019, and its scientific pillar, the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. I'm proud to say that the Secretariat of BSEC has played a significant role by helping catalyze these developments. Today, we are bearing the fruits of this dynamic by hopefully launching practical actions and by helping our member states to confirm their commitments with the financial and analytical support of international organizations such as the European Commission, the World Bank, and the Global Environmental Facility. We in the Secretariat of BSEC are already involved and promote various other projects which are very much in line with the Common Maritime Agenda. Just allow me to name 2 of them. First, it's the Black Sea Virtual Knowledge Center, which is a centralized platform providing information on blue economy to all interested stakeholders. It is hosted in the main website of the BSEC organization, and it is managed by its secretariat. Second is the transnational project related to environmental protection. It deals with collecting old fishing nets and other marine litter and recycling them into socially useful items. We had today our first meeting of all the partners involved in order to set forward the roadmap ahead for the implementation of that. We will be also working on the creation of a primary school kit in order to raise awareness among 6- and 7-year-old children in our member states. And we will also be promoting public debate through a conference in order to increase knowledge on the marine litter and plastics pollution in the Black Sea. Indeed, we recognize that marine litter and marine pollution in general are not only a challenge for one country alone, it is a regional challenge. And therefore, in accordance with our mission, we in the Secretariat have agreed to actively support the Blueing the Black Sea initiative of the World Bank, funded by the Global Environmental Facility. Allow me at this point to particularly thank my colleague in the Secretariat, Mrs. Rosita Stoeva, for her dedicated work in order to promote every detail of this cooperation with our colleagues of the World Bank. And of course, also to thank Mrs. Agostini and Mrs. Berenger Prince from the World Bank for their trust in us and their valuable support in concluding a cooperation which is a completely novel chapter in the activities of our organization. I'm sure the experts after me will explain the modalities of the planned funding program. Allow me only to underline here that the precise architecture of this program is yet to be defined. To this effect, we will organize consultations in all Black Sea littoral states and in Moldova. In fact, this is the second workshop we co-organized. The first one was held on the 4th of February and was addressed to the stakeholders in Turkey. With these meetings, we wish to make plain the state of play, the needs of the public authorities and private sector, and of course to hear environmentalists and all of you give us your contribution. So we have embarked all together in a journey of which I'm curious to see where it will carry us and how it will hopefully be continued. Because the battle against marine pollution, especially in our Black Sea, never and should never end. Ultimately, the result of this battle depends on your interest and on the input of you. Your voice will be shaping this initiative, and I encourage you to actively participate in the discussions today. Before concluding, I wish to show you two photographs, which I showed also during the meeting in Turkey, that really may say perhaps more than 1,000 words in what concerns the seriousness of marine pollution. These compelling images are the work of a world-famous photographer, Mr. Carl Taylor, who has graciously given us the permission to use them in our battle against marine pollution in the Black Sea. These are two exquisite snapshots with an innocent baby in an ocean of litter and garbage, unfortunately, garbage which we so selfishly throw in our oceans and seas, and which this picture, I believe, encapsulates in the most shocking manner the gravity of the situation and the enormous risks for the coming generations. There is another photograph which I would ask you to show. So with this, I hope, let me say, shocking pictures, but at the same time, very inspiring photographs, I wish to all of you fruitful deliberations and a successful end to this battle that we should continue for the years to come. So I wish you again every success and thank you for your participation. The floor, or if you wish, the virtual microphone back to you, Mrs. Agostini. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Christides, for the nice introductions and overview, and for these pictures that, as you say, speak more than 1,000 words. Let me now ask to Sebastian Molinos, Regional Director for the South Caucasus of the World Bank, to come to the screen with his opening remarks. Sebastian, you have about 4 minutes.
Thank you so much, Paula. And Deputy Minister Tandilashvili, Your Excellency, Ambassador Christides, esteemed participants and colleagues, I would like to really welcome all of you to this event, and I wish everyone a good day. And during these days of COVID-19 and Zoom and WebEx calls, I think I need to wish everyone not only a good afternoon, but also a good morning and good evening, because indeed I know that we have colleagues who are participating from across the world. Thank you also, Ambassador, for sharing those very vivid and pictures. I think it really frames the discussion very, very well. And it is with this in mind, really, that I am really honored and it's a great pleasure to welcome all of you to this virtual meeting to really share these two very important reports that were recently published by the World Bank in very close collaboration with the government of Georgia and BSEC on the impacts of climate change on Georgia's coastal zone. With this meeting, we also, and I really want to highlight this, we also launched the first consultation here in Georgia on Bluing the Black Sea program, which, as many of you will know, is a regional initiative to tackle maritime pollution in the Black Sea. Now, the marine and coastal space of the Black Sea has great economic and environmental importance for Georgia, and tourism, I think, is one sector to highlight, but there are many more. And yet, as we also know, it is very vulnerable. And with climate change, things are likely to further exacerbate, and we will see coastal erosion, potentially flooding. And with this in mind, there is really an urgent need to adapt and to build more resilient solutions to tackle this problem. Now, the government of Georgia is currently in the process of updating its first nationally determined contributions, NDCs, as we all know, that was originally submitted in 2015 under the Paris Agreement. And the government of Georgia is in the process of mobilizing both domestic and international resources for the most climate vulnerable sectors, and is recommending that the coastal areas be included in the adaptation component of these updated NDCs, which we're really pleased to learn and to hear about. And with the World Bank's global knowledge and support, and that of our partners, BSEC and in many others, Georgia is entering a new frontier in contributing to the NDCs. That now places a strong emphasis on climate adaptation measures in Georgia's coastal zones. Now, the two recently published reports by the World Bank, first, the impacts of climate change on Georgia's coastal zone, and second, the cost of coastal zone degradation in Georgia, identifies key climate risks and vulnerabilities for coastal Georgia. It also assesses the impact of climate change on economic sectors and infrastructure. And finally, it also outlines possible adaptation options. These reports also provide, for the first time, an estimate of the cost of the environmental degradation of Georgia's coastal zone due to pollution, flooding, coastal erosion, agricultural soil, as well as forest degradation, which we really hope will put this issue and make it not only an environmental one, but also a fiscal one, that the Ministry of Finance and other key players will more readily embrace, as has been the case in the past. And we also believe that with Georgia's ambitions to join the European Union and apply for European Union membership, that this will also play a very strong contributing role to shoring up the nascent commitment to this very important agenda. Now, these reports seek to raise a level of urgency and action really needed to reduce the impact of climate change on the coastal zones and the escalating cost of inaction. And colleagues, it is not too late for us all to ensure that the coastline of the Black Sea of Georgia adapts to climate change. Overall, the blue economy is vital for the social economic development of Georgia and other countries across the region. And with this in mind, and also with the launch of this Bluing the Black Sea program consultations, Georgia, to my mind, is now part of a regional force in tackling climate mitigation and pollution. And today's presentation, which I very much look forward to, and then the consultation really underscores Georgia's critical role in this regional effort, along with the other countries around the Black Sea. And so in closing, I would like to affirm the bank's readiness to support and assist Georgia in the NDC and climate adaptation implementation to make the coastal and maritime spaces and tourism really more resilient and the Black Sea less polluted. So with this, I would like to offer my congratulations and very much thank you to the colleagues that have worked tirelessly to make this happen. Of course, first and foremost, my bank colleagues who've worked really hard, but also BSEC, the government of Georgia, for organizing this truly important and we hope perhaps historic and event in that it will launch better things and good things to come. And with that, I wish everyone a successful event, great collaboration today, and of course, moving forward in the future. Thank you so much. Back over to you.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, for your words that really frame the issues not only as an environment issue, but as a very important economic issue, and how all this work can really inform the NDC, which is now becoming one of the most important documents for every government. With that, let me now ask to Steven Schomburger to come to the screen. He is the Regional Director of Sustainable Development for Europe and Central Asia at the World Bank. Steve, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Paolo and colleagues, for the opportunity to join you, and particularly to Deputy Minister and Your Excellency Ambassador for chairing this program and opening it, and of course to the participants who are really the ones who will take this forward in Georgia. Listen, I'm trying to bring a little bit of the broader perspective because this is a program of global significance from the World Bank's perspective. We see this as an absolutely important program for really leading the way globally and how we as a global community address issues of working with seas and shared resource areas. Black Sea has had a pollution problem, making it one of Europe's most polluted seas in the past 20 years. And this has, of course, had major economic, social, health, and environmental implications for the littoral countries. But of course, it's not something that one country alone can solve. It requires a collective effort amongst the riparian states or littoral states. And the coastal or marine activities causing environmental damage in one country, of course, impact the other country. And of course, sea currents, winds, and other things move pollution around. So it's clearly very much, by definition, a transboundary issue requiring regional solutions. But of course, while that is not an excuse to avoid national action, the solutions start with determined national action that address the issues and at the same time promote economic growth. So you need a combination of determination at the national level as well as a coordinated effort working around a common ecosystem such as the Black Sea. So the regional cooperation is absolutely essential, and we're so pleased that the Black Sea region has developed those mechanisms for cooperation. So the World Bank has started the new Blueing the Black Sea program. It's supported by Georgia, Bulgaria, Romania, Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, and Moldova. So that in and of itself is a tremendous accomplishment that all of these states are coming together to work together. And we're very proud as a World Bank to be able to be your partner in doing that. Two key events gave us, if you wish, the motivation to provide this support. And this really is a acknowledgement of the work of the riparian states in the international community. First, in May 2019, the Scientific Research and Innovation Agenda and the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea were endorsed by Bulgaria, Georgia, Moldova, Romania, Russia, Turkey, and Ukraine. That was a historic moment and provided the solid policy foundation for the countries to work together. Secondly, was a global event. Research globally has found that ocean-based climate action can play a greater role in shrinking the world's carbon footprint than was previously anticipated. In fact, there are estimates that it could deliver up to 21% of the annual greenhouse gas emission cuts needed to meet the targets to limit global temperature rise to 1.5% by 2050. So the oceans and seas produce half of the planet's oxygen. And at the same time, and this is very important to take into account, they absorb 90% of the world's anthropogenic heat. So they are the great moderators of the Earth's temperature. So if the target is to limit temperature rise globally, we must start with the seas. Of course, once the seas become polluted, degraded, their capacity to do so is diminished. And then we have to take potentially other actions which have much greater impacts, social impacts and economic impacts. So investing in the seas is a good investment, not only for the integrity of the environment, but also to provide important economic and social benefits. So I really hope that today's meeting will build on these courageous measures taken by the littoral states in coming together, and to build on the tremendous global scientific knowledge that is evolving every day to support this agenda. And I have to say that, as my colleague Sebastian highlighted, the focus of the two pieces of work, one very much on the climate aspects specifically, and the other on the cost of environmental degradation, which of course there's some overlap, but there often are complementary aspects, are exactly the right kind of analytics to do to develop the basis for a green agenda going forward. So I really compliment the Georgian colleagues and those who from the World Bank who put this together, because I believe you nailed it, as we say, in terms of exactly the right focus. So in closing, I very much want to extend our special thanks to the BSEC for organizing this consultation. Congratulate all who contributed to the generation of these reports, and congratulate in advance all of you for taking these reports and turning them, as my colleague Sebastian indicated, into real action on the ground to the benefit of the Georgian citizens, the states around the Black Sea, and of course, as we've highlighted, the global community at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for your words and for really reminding us of the transboundary nature of pollution, but also how the solution, the national solution, will sum up to more than the total will be more than the sum of individual parts if the countries are going to do it. And also about the scientific aspects and the fact that the ocean, it's really an important element for mitigation as well of climate change. With that, let me ask to Ms. Nino Tandilashvili, Deputy Minister of Environment Protection and Agriculture of Georgia, to come to the screen. Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Paula. მოგესალმებით ყველას, თქვენი ცნებართვით ქართულად ვისაუბრებ. მივესალმები ბატონ კრისტიც, ასევე
His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Christidis, to Mr. Sebastian, to Mr. Schoenberger. First of all, thank you the organizers of this meeting. It was really very important, the support of the World Bank and the BSEC organization. This is really very important. So the cooperation of all these organizations, their support to us, you know that it is really very important to improve the situation of Black Sea environment. This is a very prioritized direction. Also, it is closely connected with the improvement of economic of Black Sea coast. So we cannot do it without common cooperation. Also, it is very important to note that one of the means of human well-being is very important to decrease the pollution of the Black Sea. This is also very good for the recreation purposes of our coastal zone. That's why blue economy and innovative growth and concrete steps towards this direction is is a huge priority to our country, because you understand that the use of marine resources it really damages somehow the coastal and marine spaces. Impact of certain wastewaters is also, and the litter is the losing of habitats and the pollution of the water that will really be very negative, will have negative impact on environment, and it will also show on the well-being of people. So that's why it is very important to have sustainable growth in these. So Black Sea is a very important resource for us. So we have to take care of its ecosystem and to improve the ecological status of our ecosystem. This is one of the very important direction. There are several issues that I would like to say. First of all, it is EU's support. Based on this support, we set up a national plan of towards Black Sea that shows all the main goals for the challenges that we are facing now, and to improve the ecological status of the Black Sea. And besides, we think that global environmental fund and World Bank project, together with well-planned activities, will be a very important programs that will support the improvement and success in blueing of the Black Sea aims. We would try our best to implement these programs. Also, Georgia has another program, very important. There is a draft on managing water resources that is very that complies with the EU standards of the same law. The new law will have the liability on Georgians, on Georgian side, to manage these water resources, and this will be very important of surface water sites. That is very important. Together with this, I would like to say that this is closely connected with the given program, because when we speak the rivers that are flowing into the Black Sea, and its treatment is very important. We would like to say that Georgian coastal zone is really very vulnerable vulnerable to the climate change impacts, and so by the end of this year, we have to present under the Paris Agreement Secretariat the document we have already adopted and endorsed on the level of our government with intersectional intersectional committee of Georgia. So, it will be endorsed by Georgian government in the nearest future. So there, in this document, we have separate sectors based on which we will try to reduce the emission of greenhouse gas. I have to note here that the reports that have been prepared by the World Bank, it is in these reports that there is discussed all the issues concerning and all the challenges concerning Georgia's coastal zone. It is important to hear this together and to discuss them, review them within the project that deals with the improvement of Black Sea ecosystem. Once more, we would like to thank you and express our greatest appreciation to you all, and we really hope that our long-term aims will be achieved based on the implementation of these issues. Thank you very much.
Dear Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your words that really reminded us of the importance of the Black Sea for Georgia from the economic point of view and the ecosystem point of view and the people health. Also about the all the different programs that you have and your interest in really meeting all the EU directives in preparation of your access, and how these reports and this Blueing the Black Sea program can help you not only with the NDC that you just that you are about to approve, but also that can really help you in the implementations of all the activities that you are foreseeing. So thank you so much. With that, let me thank you all our panel for giving us really the general context and the directions of the work that we have to do, not only today, but in the future. And before we close this opening session, I want to ask to all of the participants to please turn on your video because we have to do the classic family picture. So if you can all turn on your video and we do a pictures before we go to the second part of presenting the results of the report. Smile. Yes, I think that we got everybody.
We need
done.
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Done.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Okay, excellent. And now let's really move into the details of the launch of these two reports. And let me welcome my dear colleague, Ms. Darejan Kapanadzde, Senior Environmental Specialist from the World Bank based in Georgia. Darejan, over to you.
Thank you, Paola. I will wait for the slides to come along and start off with that. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to talk to you today about the outcomes of the World Bank's research undertaken over the last 2 years and reflected in the recently published 2 reports. Both pieces of our work pertain Georgia's coastal zone and the impacts of climate change on the life in the coastal area. Next, please. Why did we focus on this geographic location and the challenges of climate change. Next. Coastal zone is critical to the country's economy and currently generates about 15% of the national GDP. It is home to valuable ecosystems and to a variety of businesses. Coastline is stunningly beautiful, but quite fragile too. Fragilities are exacerbated by the impacts of climate change, such as extreme weather events, rising sea level, and others. Next. Not so pleasant but scientifically proven finding is that climate impacts are expected to intensify over time and the coastal zone to become more vulnerable to climate change. The nature of impacts we are talking about is quite well known by now. Increased occurrence of intense rain, heat waves, strong winds and storms, inundation of coastline, flooding, erosion of beaches and slopes. Next. So this 2020 report of the World Bank explores what are the best options for adapting to climate change in the coastal zone based on the in-depth understanding of sensitive receptors, vulnerability, and exposure. Next. The truth, well, an inconvenient truth, is that livelihoods of local communities, businesses, infrastructure, and ecosystems all are under threat. Next. But how bad are these impacts after all? Or what's the damage in monetary terms? This report communicates results of such assessment. Next. Our calculations are based on pretty conservative figures and still tell that coastal degradation, to much extent caused by climate events, costs the economy 3 to 5% of GDP. This means that inaction is too costly and timely action is needed to avoid more loss. Next. The question is how? How to structure and design the response in the most efficient way. Next. Because of the complexity of challenge, adaptive action has to be based on the integrated approach to increasing resilience of coastal zone to the impacts of climate change. Next. We suggest 4 focus areas for increasing resilience to climate change. The most vulnerable communities are poor communities. They need jobs and development opportunities, but their development path is to be paved along the green growth perspective to be sustainable. Much investment pours into the coastal area. We all see that very well in Batumi and elsewhere on the coast. That's a lot of money. For it to pay back, the newly created assets should be climate proof, and climate retrofitting is highly advisable for the existing assets where feasible. The same is true for the public infrastructure: roads, railways, power transmission lines, municipal water supply and wastewater collection systems, waste landfills, all need climate proofing in one way or the other to function smoothly for the good of economy and people. Coastal ecosystems are struggling to cope with the climate change just like humans do. Reducing pollution and other harmful interventions into ecosystems is what we can do to support them in climate resilience so that coastal communities continue to receive ecosystem services. Next. Our study has identified main gaps that need to be closed to achieve climate resilient development in the coastal zone. Well-informed decision-making is key to success. Consistent and systemic collection of climate data and modeling of climate projections at the regional level is required for bridging the knowledge gap. Adequate institutional arrangements, policies, and legal framework is needed to create enabling environment for adaptation. And physical investments should be in place to make things happen, of course. However, there is more to it than just allocation of funds. Financing modalities and mechanisms should be well thought through to achieve more with less. Next, please. For each identified area of improvement, we produced sets of recommended actions. What you see on the screen is just highlights. And these are better planning for climate, building blue economy development framework, making institutional arrangements for the implementation of climate adaptation plans, developing financial business plan for climate adaptation with particular emphasis on tourism recovery from COVID-related setback. All other recommended actions are in the reports we have shown to you in this presentation. Next, please. We're delighted that the government of Georgia demonstrates strong commitment to the global objectives of climate mitigation and adaptation. Deputy Minister talked about this already. Obviously, Georgia is part of the Paris Agreement, has submitted its intended NDC back in 2015, and as you heard today, is about to have the renewed, updated NDC approved by the government and submitted to Paris. Next. And the World Bank stands ready for cooperation in this field. We re-engaged in the work on coastal and climate issues in 2018-19. I'm saying re-engaged because in early 2000s, the World Bank supported implementation of integrated coastal zone management project in Georgia. That had been a major success. So now, using the grant resource from the nationally defined contribution support facility, these two reports we're talking about have been made possible, and yet another grant-funded activity will help the government to produce a financial plan for coastal adaptation and recovery through green tourism and other instruments. Next. In the face of challenges posed by the climate change, we are optimistic about what can be achieved in coastal zone development in a sustainable and climate resilient manner. Next, please. For good progress and tangible results, changing of mindsets is as important as all other necessary inputs. The point is that trying to resist climate change only by putting up strong walls and dikes is insufficient. The gray monochrome of concrete alone will not do the job. The green color and blue color has to come in, and green and blue solutions be mainstreamed for achieving good results. We try to promote nature-based solutions as part of the overall effort to adapt to the climate change impacts, and knowing how important tourism is in Georgia's coastal zone, stand ready to assist the government in the development of green tourism as the pathway of recovery from the severe blow that Georgia's tourism received as a result of COVID pandemic. Next. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this presentation piqued your appetite to read our reports in full and inspired you for further steps and actions. Thank you. And back to
Thanks
Paula.
a lot, Darijan, for really presenting in a very short time and very clearly the major results of the two reports, and really highlighting some of the recommendations. We really hope that you will be able to read the reports. With that, I didn't see in the chat yet any questions, unless there is somebody who has an urgent question right now. Let me see if anybody is raising their hands. If not, I will actually move to the second session. You can keep asking questions on the chat and we will record them and then answer to you on later on. So with that, let me pass the floor, the screen to Miss Irina Makarenko, Pollution Monitoring and Assessment Officer of the Black Sea Commission, to really move from the local country-based Georgian focus to the broader regional focus of Brewing the Black Sea program. It's all part of the same program, but let's move from country to regional. Irina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Paula, and good morning and good afternoon, dear colleagues. I was really honored to be appointed as a moderator of this important second session of our second national consultations, and I would like to thank here the World Bank, the BSEC teams, as well as, of course, the government of Georgia for organizing and hosting this extremely important activity for the entire Black Sea region. It is also very nice to see so many familiar faces, I mean our Georgian colleagues. And last but not least, I would like to thank you for inviting the Black Sea Commission, which I represent, to also contribute to the success of your project. So we were allocated 20 minutes, I guess even less, and now I would like to introduce to you two experts who have been appointed to carry out the legal and institutional analysis of pollution, as well as separately the pollution diagnostics, which were envisaged by the ProBlue project. And these are Mr. Owen McCallentire, I think I spell it right, and Mr. Nicola Bertolini. Before giving the floor to our consultants, I would like to mention that considering that our time slot is very short and there will be not enough time for the Q&A session, so I also suggest that all the interested participants could raise their questions in the chat box, and we of course will collect and address all your questions during our next meeting or other relevant meetings. So let me first introduce to you the team. Please meet, of course, you met already, Ms. Paola Agostini. She's a task team leader. Also the co-task team leader, Ms. Eolina Milova. And I already mentioned two experts, again, Mr. Owen McCallentire, an expert on legal and institutional aspects relevant to water and marine pollution, and Mr. Nicola Bertolini, who is an expert on the pollution diagnostic. So before I give the floor to them, let me just mention the overall program development objective of the project is actually to improve the national and also regional knowledge on the sources, as well as the prevention and mitigation of the key marine pollutants in the Black Sea. And another part of this objective is to strengthen the case for the improved regional collaboration. The project will consist of the two activities. The first one will be to carry out the analysis and the diagnostics that I already mentioned. And the second one, of course, will be dealing with the consultations, the dissemination, and the outreach activities, which is always important for any project. So now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Owen McAllintyre. I already said that he was appointed an expert on the legal and institutional aspects relevant to water and marine pollution. He will be now presenting you the outline of the legal and institutional analysis and also its main objectives. So I would say no more. Please, Mr. McAllintyre, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Irina. Can I ask someone to move the slide? I think perhaps this may not be my slide. It may be for...
one more, please. And one more, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So very briefly, thank you very much for the opportunity to introduce the legal and institutional analysis that we are embarking on. It has several key aims to identify policy, legal, and institutional gaps regarding the international, the regional, and the national laws and standards applying to pollution and regulation and prevention of pollution of the Black Sea environment. Also to identify good international and industry practice beyond legal requirements, and to address the problem in a complex situation like marine pollution in the Black Sea, the problem of fragmentation, where there are gaps and overlapping requirements arising from different legal frameworks. And of course, another very important element is to address problems of implementation of existing requirements and enforcement of those requirements. Now, it's important to point out that we have identified key focus areas. There are many, many forms of pollution and sources of pollution of the Black Sea. And of course, there are many legal frameworks that apply to these different varying sources. But having regard to the fact that the vast majority of marine pollution arises from what we call land-based sources, we have focused in on two key forms of land-based source pollution. And these are nutrients from rivers and wastewater plants and from agriculture flowing into the Black Sea, both from coastal areas but from rivers, and oil and chemical pollution from hotspots, both coastal hotspots and hotspots on major rivers. So that requires us to take a look at a number of key areas, key bodies of rules. And the first are the rules on the general protection of the marine environment in the Black Sea. And there we have to look at international marine environmental law at the global level, very importantly, regional marine environmental law and the Bucharest Convention, international environmental law more generally, and relevant EU environmental law, either where it is applicable to coastal states or where it represents a best practice, a benchmark. And then, of course, we will look at the relevant national environmental rules, regulations, and institutions within the member states. And then more specifically, looking at marine pollution from land.
I'm sorry, could he speak a little more louder? His mic is not working perfectly.
In areas such as international watercourses law, and of course, again, in relevant EU areas of EU environmental law, and then down into the national controls in place in each of the member states. And then very importantly, to look at implementation and enforcement of these relevant legal frameworks, all the way from the international and global level, right down to, and most importantly, at the national level, the level of national environmental law. So just before I conclude, to explain that the study will take two parts, will be in two parts. So there will be a regional assessment and then state assessments, individual assessments of each state of the key national pollution regimes. The regional assessment will outline those key international and regional laws, policies, and good industry practice against which the national assessment or the national study will assess the relevant national policies, laws, regulations, and institutions. So we'll see the extent to which these are aligned and that one effectively implements the other. And the national studies themselves will be in two stages. There will be a mapping exercise to identify all of the key legal frameworks at the national level, and then an assessment of the operation of those diverse national legal requirements and of the institutions that are charged with their implementation and enforcement. I hope I haven't taken too much time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Owen, for this comprehensive presentation. If anyone still has any questions, I kindly invite you to indicate them in the chat box. Now, I would like to give a floor to Mr. Nicola Bertolini, who will continue presenting us the outline, and he will also elaborate on the suggested implementation arrangements, as well as the timelines for the pollution diagnostic report. So please, the floor is yours, and I think we are okay with the slide now. No, please switch one.
Next one. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to you, Irina, for giving me the virtual floor. My greetings to the previous speakers and the future speakers, as well as to all the attendees. Today is an important day for the Georgia for this project, because as mentioned by His Excellency, the Ambassador, now you have the opportunity to your voice could shape the initiatives. Today we start with the first consultation, with the country consultation, which address our future efforts. As you, I'm honored to introduce the pollution diagnostic here in this, and I give you an outline about how we are intentioned to approach the assignment according to World Bank wish and desiderata. As you know, in the last decade, the Black Sea is now considered, it can be considered as one of the most polluted sea in the region, due to the unsustainable use of water resources and releases of untreated wastewater and marine litter. These activities resulted in reducing the seawater quality, which cause significant environmental damage. As mentioned also by Owen earlier, the main key pollution problems are the nutrient and the chemical pollution, especially from oil spills. Also, alien species, due to shipping activities, has a significant impact on this. Therefore, with the diagnostic pollution assignment is developed to conduct a pollution diagnosis of the Black Sea, covering two main levels of analysis. The first one is the national at country level, and then at regional levels. The diagnostic will therefore focus on country level analysis of pollution from Georgia, who we are today, to start this initiative together with you, Moldova, Turkey, and Ukraine. Then the result will be presented in respective pollution background papers. Based on those pollution background papers, synthesis report presenting a diagnostic of the Black Sea pollution will be developed. The objective of the activities, as raised in previous interventions, are the consolidating the foundations of the regional cooperation, a differentiated approach at national and regional level, enhancing the social cohesion through citizen engagement mechanism, today is an example, and pushing active transmission of knowledge among stakeholders, leading to joint action to reduce the pollution elements. What the project of the assignment of the diagnostic pollution is divided in several tasks. Here you have the main outline in the slide. Next, please, Irina. What we will do, point by point, we will we are identifying local professionals to have a team of experts in the sector we are now analyzing: environmental experts, water quality experts, environmental economists, and communication and stakeholder engagement experts from each of the country. Therefore, then once we identify, when we have defined the team of local experts, we'll conduct a desk review on pollution studies of Black Sea, past and current projects carried out in the countries, covered by this study and at the regional level. In this way, we are going to see there are a lot of projects funded by World Bank as well as other donors such as European Union, UNEP, UNDP, UNSA, and we, with the analysis, which will be our focus in this exercise, to check which are the lessons learned at national and regional levels, and the other is to see which are the key pollution topics covered and identified in each country and at the regional level. After that, we will perform a mapping exercise, will allow to identify types, sources, circulation and hotspots of pollution in the Black Sea area, and describe known and potential downstream impact. This exercise will be done again at two levels of analysis, one regional and one national. We, at the end, we can, this differentiated approach will allow us to prioritize pollution categories within the countries at the regional level again. After that, we will develop a balance of nitrogen and phosphorus pollution for the Black Sea catchment. The nutrient balance will be developed for the key rivers in the Black Sea catchment as well as at a direct Black Sea watershed. We will perform nitrogen and phosphorus load by country, and then due to potential discrepancies of data availability at the national level will be adjusted accordingly. What is innovative in this approach later on is the approach so-called business as usual scenarios. So in our environmental and diagnostic analysis, we will identify through qualitative assessment based on experts' opinion using a method called Delphi. At the end, the BAU scenario, the business as usual scenario, will be used as a baseline to determine priority actions, collaborative strategies to induce this change in the environmental pollution management. At the end, we will collect and gather together all information collected at the national level to summarize, to develop after the national background pollution papers for the four countries, the regional Black Sea pollution diagnosis report. The regional factor is a very important aspect that will be covered by the analysis, identifying the gaps impeding cooperation for addressing pollution issues, as well as opportunities, incentives to improve the interstate collaboration and the regional cooperation. And important will be done, an important note will be done to the recommendation to have a joint action and further joint investments in the region. Last but not least, what is quite important to highlight the engagement strategy of the stakeholder engagement strategy, which is, as I said at the beginning of my intervention, and also Ambassador Christides, to get your voice for the result, to empower the final result of this study is important to your support. So we therefore engage government counterparts and building ownership to support these activities, interacting and seeking inputs.
If I may kindly ask you to proceed.
You can proceed, yes. I think so. It is important, the stakeholder engagement strategy. Next, please. Is important, as I said, the all people involved in the project, consulting firm, government focal points, national technical committee, World Bank, and Black Sea Commission are the main stakeholders involved in this process. Next, please. Here you have the timeline of the whole activities. So you can see that several technical committees are envisaged, and we would like to arrive by the end of the year to have spoken with all countries, developed technical actions, and arrive with final recommendations. For further questions, I remain at disposal. I believe my presentation is finished. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicola. So now we have all the details, all the arrangements, and in our session, we allocated some time to carry out a live poll. So because your voice really matters, and I will just help you with this. So we prepared a list of questions. Of course, they're not explicit, but we were trying our best to embrace all the relevant environmental concerns. Especially for those in Georgia. You were already provided all the technical details for this poll. And let me start this brainstorming session. I will be reading you out the questions that we have, also with some possible options for answers. And I kindly ask you to vote within maximum 1 minute, so that we have time in order to finish our session in time. So the first question: will the legal and institutional analysis and the regional pollution diagnostic contribute to the regional efforts to address the marine pollution? We have 3 options to answer. The first one, A, yes, since the issue transcends national borders. The second one, no, there are sufficient studies on pollution. And the third one is C, the focus should be on something else. So I kindly invite you to vote on this first question. I see that, it is mostly A, so this work is really needed. So then we are jumping to the second question. So the question sounds like, does the scope of the Turning the Tide of Pollution report activities reflect on the main gaps that need to be addressed? So we have again 3 options to answer: A, yes, B, no, and C, other. So we see very much consensus on our questions. We are heading to the third question. Which are the key stakeholders in addressing marine pollution at national, local, and the international level to be involved in the technical committee of the project? So here you are kindly invited to elaborate on this, to provide a couple of words and to provide a couple of key stakeholders that you consider are important on 3 different levels, such as national, local, and the international. Yes, we started getting answers. Thank you. Waiting for some more. Many thanks. I give you another 15 seconds. Yes, I think we already received plenty of answers. I think we can move to the next one. So please demonstrate us the question number 4. Are there any other similar or relevant existing projects or initiatives at the national and regional levels that we should also consider? So we have only 2 options, which is yes and no. Yes, we mostly have the first answer, which makes me, asking you further, because if you answered yes, which is, quite a big amount of answers. I would like to ask you, please switch the slide, and I would like to ask you, what are the projects which are overlapping in your view? So please provide a couple of words or a couple of projects that you think may really overlap with the objectives of our project. I give you some seconds more. I don't see any answers yet. Yes. I ask you to provide some feedback on the results of the voting.
Not sure why the answers are not coming in, but I can see there are 6 already, so suggest perhaps to move on.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we will manage to collect these answers and analyze. So we are jumping to the question 5, which is what are the most important pollution sources and the human activities impacting the health of marine ecosystems in the Black Sea, which of course we should also consider during the implementation of the project. So now you have multiple choices, and you can really, so now I can see many answers, and these are the nutrient pollution, the chemical pollution, oil spills, marine litter, marine traffic, invasive species, overfishing, and other issues. As I can see, there are no other issues that people selected. Okay, I give you another 10 seconds to vote on this because this question is really important. Okay, I think we can now close the voting on this question number 5. Thank you for this new slide. So the next question is, can the institutional, legal and policy framework reform in Georgia help to address the pollution issues? We have 3 options, and basically the first is saying that the reform is needed. The second one says that the framework is already sufficient to address marine pollution. And the third one says that it is already well developed, but still lacks some implementation and enforcement in the area. So I can see the first results of the voting, but I think we can still have another 10 seconds for this. Yes, we started getting some more. Okay, another 5 seconds. Perfect. I think we can move on. Please indicate the next slide. And it sounds like, what further support would you need from the World Bank to accompany the pollution-free development of the blue economy in the Black Sea? So here you can also just mention some of the most important issues. You know, we are not asking something really comprehensive, but just something which is falling into your mind when you hear about, you know, the support that the World Bank may provide. So we have, I guess, 1 minute for this, and we started receiving responses. Great. Yes. Fantastic. We need maybe another 10 seconds for those who are not managing, you know, to finalize their contribution. We already have some very important issues mentioned here. Yeah, the answers are coming. I give you another 10 seconds. Okay, I think as initial contribution, it's already fantastic. So as you may see, we were trying to embrace all necessary issues and all the environmental challenges in the Black Sea. We, of course, will be working on the feedback that you provided. And of course, if you still have some questions, you may still write them in the chat box. So here, I think my time as a moderator is finished. And I would like to thank you all for this opportunity to address to you these important issues in our basin. I would like to thank all the contributors, to our speakers, and to all of you for your attention. So now I will be passing the floor to my colleague Svetoslav Stoyanov, who is the one who will lead you through the next session of our important meeting. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Irina. Thanks, everybody. It was very interactive and very interesting session from my point of view. So now we will continue on with this third session, maybe last session in this webinar. First, my name is Sveto Stoyanov. I'm a blue economy expert, and I'm assisting the regional organization BSEC in the preparation of one of the components of the Blue in the Black Sea program. So in the previous session, we got acquainted already with the concept of the planned BBC program and discussed the work on the in-country pollution discussion paper, which in turn will inform the BBC architecture. When I say BBC, it's the Blue in the Black Sea program, of course. This session will center on the regional project. The BSEC PERMIS, so the Permanent International Secretariat, has been selected to accompany its development and hopefully its future implementation. The executive manager, Mrs. Rosica Stoeva, will shed light on the different facets of this regional project and give its timeline. Following the presentation, we would like to discuss with you and hear your first impressions, suggestions, and questions. All of this will go through the same type of survey and poll that you have used a few minutes ago, but I will tell you more right after the intervention of Mrs. Stoeva. Rosica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sveto. Can you hear me? Good afternoon from Istanbul, from BSEC PERMIS. My name is Rosica Stoeva. I'm executive manager in the BSEC Secretariat and also BBC project manager. As Ambassador Christidis already has highlighted in the opening session, we in the BSEC PERMIS lay particular importance to the BBC program and its investment component, because we believe that it will help close the financial gap, particularly for projects with regional dimension in the Black Sea, where the efforts of one country alone are not sufficient to solve the problem. Sergio, next slide, please. When it comes to the key facts of our project, as you can see, there are $6.6 million US dollars available from the Global Environmental Facility International Water Window. The BSEC PERMIS will be the executive body. Our long-term objective is to improve the environmental health of the Black Sea and to increase the social and economic benefits for the population. And the project we're planning to start, let's say, third quarter of this year. And we will continue until beginning of 2024. This is the plan. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. When it comes to the indicative activities at national level, this is very important. The idea of incentivizing public and private investments for pollution reduction in the Black Sea countries is put in the heart of this BBC regional project, which scope is pretty wide and covers all, as you understood already, all coastal countries, including the Republic of Moldova. We believe that in medium term, the project would help to create more incentives for public and private investments for pollution reduction, all leading to the long-term outcome of an improved environmental status of the Black Sea, with increased economic and social benefits for the population. How we can do that on national level? You can see here we pointed out some elements through, let's say, detailed studies, coordination mechanism with blue economy focus, national investments plan for pollution prevention, and circular eco-business competition and grants, as well as fundraising for investment. Next slide. When it comes to the regional level, The project can envisage the following activities: development of sustainable business standards and guidelines in key sectors, capacity building in banking for green finance and innovation, awareness raising campaigns on issues of pollution in the Black Sea. I can give you some ideas of what could be done when it comes to those three, let's say, activities at regional level. When it comes to development of sustainable business standards and guidelines for investments in agriculture, aquaculture, tourism, shipping, and water management, based on international best practices. So such standards uniformly applied in the region could increase long-term investments into sustainable business, economic activities and projects. More specifically, environmental considerations may refer to climate change mitigation and adaptation, as well as the environmental more broadly, such as preservation of biodiversity, pollution prevention, and circular economy. When it comes to building green and innovative financing capacity, we're talking about organizing trainings on green technology investments, focusing pollution reduction and prevention. This activity will directly support the provision of grants for SMEs, startups, or public actors who have green initiatives in mind. Under these activities, there are plans to arrange a grant competition that will give chance to best practices and innovations for pollution reduction to get necessary funding for further implementation. Last but not least, I would like to share this, how we see this awareness raising campaigns. Here, we're planning to cooperate with partners, especially the European Union, as an example, of course, with other projects as well, which will have regional dimension, and that we have the same focus of interest or the similar ones. For example, Black Sea Connect, Bridge, FAO has also, let's say, a similar project in the region. So we are ready to cooperate with all of them. Next slide. Actually, this is my last slide. I would like to show you our current understanding of how this whole project can function over the next years. As you can see, all relevant national and regional partners are considered to be included, to be involved in this project. Even we are considering to involve the 3 of the CMA countries which are not beneficiary to this project, but they will be there as observers. Cooperation also with international organizations, as for example UNDP and FAO, are also envisaged. Those, of course, implementation arrangements are in consideration. They are still under decision making. So we hope to get some insights from our partners and key policymakers, the ministries and regional organizations here in the Black Sea area. So I will stop here because I believe that it's very important for us to concentrate on the more vivid, let's say, part of our today's event. I'm talking about the survey, the poll. So thank you very much. I stop here. I'm on your disposal if you have some questions. Mr. Stoyanov, the floor is back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Stoeva. So indeed, it's a pretty interesting regional project that is now in the making. We would like to hear from you. What do you think about it? What do you think about its modalities? Allow me to also focus your attention on 3 particular words, if you wish. The one is maritime pollution or marine pollution, also national level and also regional level. They are important because the following questions in the survey will revolve about or around the notion of activities aiming to prevent and reduce marine pollution, and they will have a national and a regional dimension. For us, it will be pretty important to understand which activities make sense for you. The public authorities in Georgia, the entrepreneurs, the academia, environmentalists, of course, and regular citizens. And of course, we would like to understand if they have to be done at national level, so in Georgia, or at regional level, basically uniting the forces, capacities of your neighbors, of the other Black Sea countries. So now we are already getting on the poll, and you can see the first question as I speak. Allow me to one more time read briefly the questions. So to select the top most important national level activities for Georgia, you can choose up to 3 answers, in fact. The one could be the cost of pollution on the economy. The second one will be the cross-sectoral coordination mechanism for blue economy. The third one is investment plans for pollution prevention and circular economy. Fourth one is the eco-business competition and grants to reduce pollution and improve water quality. And the last one is the investment preparation to reduce pollution and improve water quality. Investment preparation is basically a large-scale project. For instance, eco-business competition, we're talking about small grants. So I see already 14 questions. Let me vote as well. Okay. We still have 12 minutes. I give you maybe 10 seconds more so we can move on to the next question. So please, then, next question. Indeed, the next question reads, is more or less the same question. However, it follows the following logic. Select the least important national level activities for Georgia. So you have, again, the cost of pollution, cross-sectoral coordination mechanism, the investment plans for pollution prevention and circular economy, eco-business competition and grants, so small-scale grants, and the large-scale investment. See 5 people already participating. Excellent, 10 people, 10 seconds more. Okay, let's go to the next question then. Select the top most important regional level activities for Georgia. So activities that would make sense to be developed at regional level. You can choose up to 2 questions, 2 answers actually. The one is sustainable business standards and guidelines in key sectors. And sectors include agriculture. Let me see as well. They include marine environment. They include as well other important sectors like waste management. Let me see. Okay, already 18 replies. That's wonderful. Let's move to the next question. So same question, but put differently. Select the least important regional level activities for Georgia. Again, sustainable business standards and guidelines, capacity building in banking for green finance and innovation, awareness raising on the issue of pollution. Ten more seconds. Okay, thank you very much. So let's go to the next one. So the question reads, does Georgia need, or does Georgia have an investment plan for pollution prevention? If it has a question, it's the first choice, Georgia does not need it. Second choice is Georgia already has one, or Georgia would benefit from it. Okay, it's pretty clear. Excellent remark in the chat box. Your opinion indeed does matter. It will be taken into consideration when we are preparing this architecture of the project. So please use this opportunity. It's really interactive. It's pretty nice and easy to do. So we can move now to the next question. Does Georgia need an investment plan for circular economy? Here the focus is on circular economy. Okay. Thank you. $18 replies. We can have 2 more maybe. 19. 5 more seconds. Okay, no more. So let's go to the next question, please. Now, this is the target group. select suitable competitors for the eco-business grant competition to reduce pollution and improve water quality runoff to the Black Sea. So suitable competitors means basically who is the target group. This grant competition should be targeted at. Who can participate in this grant competition? Public agencies, local authorities, maybe farmers, small enterprises, youth entrepreneurs, and academia. I think you can choose up to 5 answers. $13. Okay, wonderful. 15, 17 replies. This is pretty important indeed. 19, 5 more seconds. 20. Wonderful. Now we can move to the next question, please. 21. What are the priority sectors for eco-business grant competition to reduce pollution and improve water quality runoff to the Black Sea? So priority sectors means which sectors should be addressed, should be focused at this grant competition. Agriculture, shipping, tourism, urban wastewater, industrial wastewater. You can have multiple choices. As you see, choose up to 5 answers. But you can choose also less than 5, of course. You can choose only 1. Okay, 14 people. Out of 78 participants, this is not way too much, so please be bold. It's all anonymous. So wonderful. 23, excellent, goes up. Now we can move to the next question. So do you know other eco-business grant competition programs dedicated to reducing pollution? If yes, which one do you have in mind? And here you have an opportunity as well to type in a short answer. Maybe let us know. No is also an answer, that's true. But if you have ideas of grant competitions not in the region, or maybe in other regions, I don't know, it's also a good question. Answer. Fine. So it seems that the region needs. Okay, BBC, okay, Cbc Grants. Cbc is the cross-border cooperation program. These are grants that are coming from the European Commission, and they're actually applicable to all countries and regions. Excellent. 14. I have to remind you as well that following this webinar, you would also receive an opportunity to participate or to fill out the same survey one more time. Some days after the end of this competition, you will be of this webinar, you will be able to receive the link to the survey, so you can think about it at home and let us know what you think. Excellent. A lot of replies coming in. Maybe 5 more seconds. Oh, read this. That's new. Okay, thanks a lot. Now we can move to the next question. What investment would be the most effective to reduce pollution and improve water quality runoff in Georgia? So you have 5 options: wastewater treatment facility, solid waste management facility, nitrate and phosphate fertilizers reduction program in agriculture, green infrastructures like wetlands, forests, also better pollution management facility at major harbors. You can select different options. And you can rank them actually. Wastewater treatment facility, that's of course hard infrastructure that costs a lot of money. That's good to know. Solid waste management facility comes first. Green infrastructures are a bit, number 4. 18 replies. Now we can get to 20. 5 more seconds. 19. 20, excellent. Thanks a lot. Now we can move already to the next question. Are there in particular standards and or procurement rules for sustainable business operations and investments in Georgia? That's pretty simple, yes, no, or I do not know. Okay, yeah. Cool, I do not know. 15 replies, 16. I see only one answer yes. That's interesting, 2, fine. For those who said yes, we can go to the next question. If there are such standards and procurement rules, we want to know about them. So those who have said yes, probably they can help us. You can type in a short answer. I'll give you 10 more seconds. You can also type it later in the chat as well, if you feel. Oh, I do not know, good. No one procurements. Okay. I do not know. Fair enough. So we can move to the next question. What do you consider a good way to support or promote sustainable business practices and innovation towards pollution reduction in Georgia? So you have various options here. You can choose, I think, up to 5 answers. They're all pretty relevant, but still, we would like to have a ranking there as well. So more and dedicated communication campaigns, legislation, more capacity building to business entrepreneurs, more financing by banks and development institutions, through education for youth. Well, that's pretty obvious, let me choose it. By involving popular faces as well. These are the so-called champions. Okay, it's one of our last questions, actually. You can, excellent. 18. Can we come to 20? 21, excellent. Thank you very much for that. We can go to the next question. Are there any institutions at national or regional levels that promote investments in green technology or circular economy models? Or, let me see one more time. That could be, of course, ventures, universities, okay. Okay. NGOs, wonderful, ministry. It could be also novel green infrastructures for pollution reduction, also waste management. Maybe think about it, about recycling related to marine pollution. Okay, that's not easy, I know, but 5 more seconds. Mostly university, that's interesting. Investments, I was rather thinking about banks or investment funds. Fair enough, we can go to the question number 14. Are there any financial institutions, equity funds, for instance, that in Georgia target and support companies that develop solutions for pollution problems? Yes. Okay. I see a hand raised. Maybe, madam, you can take the microphone and then speak if you have a short remark while others vote.
Thank you very much. I have a bit long remark. That's why maybe I'll wait until you finish these questions, because my question is very important, I think.
Okay.
When you finish.
Okay. Maybe one more question and then we're done. Thank you, madam. So 16 replies. 17. Okay, that's not easy. I know that in other regions, also in Europe, there are not that many funds that support this type of investments. So we can go now to the next question. I think this is our last question. So if there are such institutions, please specify which you have in mind. That again, you can type in a short answer. And we have 20 seconds for that, because we over, actually no, we have 3 more minutes till the end of this session. We would like to hear from Madam Pilava after that. So you do not know, not available, branches of international banks. Could you specify maybe?
Sorry? Do you
no,
hear
madam,
me?
just be patient. 2 more seconds. I see that there are still some questions coming in. Okay, Black Sea Trade and Development Bank. That's excellent. National banks. Excellent. 7 replies. Again, you'll be able, okay, you will be able to fill out this survey also after this meeting. If you have forgotten anything, if you want us to let know your opinion, it matters to us. So I'm really thankful for your participation. I think this is our last question. Exactly. So, Madam Pilava, you can take again the floor. Please present yourself, because I do not know you personally. I think it will be important for all of us to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. My name is Nino Trilava. I'm head of Department of Environment and Climate Change at the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture of Georgia. But now I'm taking floor as a GF focal point. And I have more practical questions, but we don't have time, as I realize. First of all, thank you very much, of course, to World Bank. As my deputy minister already mentioned during her welcoming speech, World Bank is the best partner for my country and my ministry. So I will be shorter now. Okay, maybe these exercises are very good to check smartness of Georgians' mind, or I don't know for what, for which reason it's important, but I have such a question. If you know, maybe you know that PIF for this project was approved in May 2020, and project preparation grant was approved at the same time, and we are given 18 months for preparation of full document, and now 10 months already passed, and as soon as we started meeting today, maybe it will be good, we have left 10 minutes, maybe it will be good somehow to plan how we are continuing, and when we are writing something, and how we are writing, who we are inviting, because these smart questions is okay. I have nothing against, but do you think according to those quick questions, you will be able to create a full-sized document? I doubt. That's why maybe during these 10 minutes we have left, please share with us any planning, how we are going those 4 countries to put important activities in this project, because so as I mentioned, I'm thinking from the perspective of GF now, but otherwise it's exercises and such kind of games, maybe it's very important, but let's plan something in remaining minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. This was important indeed. And maybe I would give the floor to Paola or somebody from the bank who can reply to this question.
Thank you very much, Sveto. Let me start, and then we can bring in also Berengere and BSEC. Madam Nino, very, very nice to see you. We met maybe a year ago before, all these COVID things started. We met a couple of times. It's really a pleasure to see that you were able to be here. Thank you so much, really. And I like that really your pragmatism. So we are trying to do the best what we can, and we in terms of trying to start with this consultation as an initial, very initial consultation. But I agree with you, we cannot stop here, and we really need now to sit down and write. The PPG grant agreement was only signed maybe 2 weeks ago. So that's why the activities have been going a little slower than expected. I mean, we have been working a lot together with BSEC and Rosita anyway in trying to move things forward. But, not having the money is really helps in being able to do more things. So I think that from now on, you will see an accelerations of the activity for preparation in the different countries. And we'll take your point very seriously. I remember how do you say, how embracing you were of the idea of this project when Darejan and myself came to talk to you about a year ago, saying really, the Black Sea, international water, marine pollution, it's a problem. You have my full support. And I understand that now we need to sort of deliver on that promise. So also, if you have any suggestion, on how we can really do it in this difficult way, I think that will really help us. But let me stop here. I don't know if Rosita or Berenger or Darejan wants to come in and really reply to this important point of Madame Nino. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will take it from here. And since we are about to finish, and of course, Miss Nino, we are taking your comments very seriously, and we will work on it. We will be in touch with you. So don't worry, we will do our best in order to satisfy all the requests from our member states, of course. And I would like to use this opportunity on behalf of my organization to thank the participants for their presence and active contribution to the survey. I would like also to urge you to do it later on. You will have this opportunity. I would like also to thank the co-organizers, the World Bank, the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture of Georgia, and the Black Sea Commission. Last but not least, the moderators were very efficient. I would like to thank them as well as the technical team, which makes this happen. And we are on Facebook Live, which is fantastic. And we will continue doing that because this is important, everybody to have access to our discussions. I consider that this today event was a successful one, gathering experts, sharing ideas on how to, on marine pollution, which is very important topic on our agenda. This is our sea, and we should take all the necessary measures for a productive, healthy, resilient, sustainable, and better valued Black Sea. I would like also to inform you that everything related to this webinar and to forthcoming consultations in other littoral, Black Sea littoral states and Moldova, they will be on the BSVKC website. So I will share, the link was already shared in the chat box. I will do it again in a minute. So you are most welcome to follow all the discussions, and everything will be there. The poll will be there. So you can, afterwards, when you have time, you can do it by yourself in a more, let's say, relaxed manner. I would like also to invite everybody in Georgia and whoever is now following us that when it comes to the BSVKC website, there is a Black Sea Blue Economy Community Stakeholder platform where you can be registered and you can receive the information related to new developments, projects, events that are happening in the region, including the BBC project, which we are running with the bank. And of course, I would like to welcome you to come up with written comments, ideas, proposals. There are available communication tools on the BSVKC website. So we will be very happy to have this vivid and live connection, even though virtually, but we will respond to all your comments and remarks. They matters and they're very valuable. Thank you. Berenger, floor back to you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start to answer first to the question raised by Madame Nino Tiklava. I think I don't have much to add to what Paola had said to you, but I think the best way forward is to agree on a discussion with you and maybe also with the other Jeff focal point of this program, without who this program would not be here, like you said, without the endorsement of the Jeff focal point of Georgia, Turkey, Moldova and Ukraine, they would not be a Blueing the Black Sea program. So I guess as a recognition of how important your role is, let's agree on a follow-up discussion. This meeting, I think, was, for me, it was really a best practice example for consultation in COVID time. You know, we would be in a room that we would have had a better feeling of the room, and we would have had the possibility to be more interactive. So this survey tool was really very interesting for us to have a sense of what's important, what's less important. And I'm very happy there was a lot of participation. There was about 20 people responding all over the meeting. Like Rositza was saying, there are about 40 participants who did not give their opinion, right? There was about 70, 80 people connected. So those 40 people who have not addressed and share their view will send this questionnaire, like Rositza said, by email. And it's going to be, and all the document, all the result of the survey, all the presentation, they're also going to be on the website of the BSEC. So we want to be as participatory as possible. We really want to hear from you. This project is relevant only if it is a priority for the Georgian government and for the people of Georgia. Maybe just to conclude a little bit of my takeaway from the survey, I think we have a confirmation at the highest level why fighting for the healthy Black Sea is important. And we heard that from all the opening remarks. It's important for the economy, it's important for the health of the people. So it's important for the planet as well. So it's really an important fight and one that is a priority in the Black Sea. I think we have an agreement that one of the highest source of pollution is nutrient and also chemical. So that was a good confirmation. I did find quite interesting that the priority investment do not seem to match those priorities. The fertilizer and nutrient program reduction was not part of the top priority for investment. So it's interesting to see that there is a recognition of what the issues are, but the solutions are not necessarily the same. My last takeaway message is that there is a need for green finance. I mean, we saw from the response, and I know the response were not all, not everybody did respond, but there seems to be a gap in the financing of green infrastructure or pollution infrastructure. So this is a good confirmation for the team here. That means we are on the right track, and we will continue to work on preparing the project. Next step, again, to come back to the question from Mr. Tiklava, there was a slide on the steps, but we had to go very fast. But basically, we are in project preparation. We're going to continue the stakeholder consultation, and we are having the board approval of this project is going to be in July this year, meaning that we could start implementation in September this year. So this is our timeline for the JEF project. The timeline for the report that was presented in the working session 2 is actually shorter. We hope to have the report by the end of this year. So there's a good sequencing of activity. The report is going to come first, and the JEF project will build on the finding from the report. With that, I'd like to conclude this meeting. I want to thank everybody for being connected for the whole duration of this consultation. 2 hours is long for a big stakeholder consultation. I want to thank my colleague from the BSEC team, Ambassador Christine and Ms. Rosista Stovea. I want to thank my colleague from the Georgian government for supporting and co-organizing this event. Let's not forget Irina from the Black Sea Commission also, that is a part of this work. Everyone, thank you very much, and we'll share all the results. We're very transparent, all the results. Even the recording of this meeting is going to be available online. with that, let me thank you, and I wish you a good end of the day or good rest of the day for those of you in other timelines. Thank you. Bye-bye.